Hey everybody, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Picked this thing up off a friend of mine who was getting rid of it actually, and I thought it'd make a good addition to my sign wall over there. It's, if you didn't recognize it, it's a school bus stop sign. These things are obviously on the one side of the passenger side of about every school bus you see, and it pops out and flashes to tell people to stop when the school bus is present picking up kids. So I thought it'd be cool to see if we can get this thing working, and then on top of that, see if we can get it flashing. Maybe rig up something I can hang it on the wall over there, and maybe get it working. So let's see what we can do with this thing. All right, so first things first, we do have a conglomeration of wires sticking out of this, and some of them seem pretty obvious. We're going to test them out here. These wires, I'm pretty sure, go to these lights. So we're going to test those out, and then these three have to do with the motor, and we'll have to figure out how those work. There's probably some wiring diagrams online. But anyway, how we want this to work is, I would prefer to be able to flip a switch, have it come out flashing, and have it be flashing, and then when we put it away, we'll flip a switch, the flashing will go off and it will close. And for flashing, these lights should be intermittent blinking. Okay, so I've got some ideas on how to do all that. There's probably some fancy electronic ways of doing that, but I think we're going to go the low budget methodology. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to start by using my jumper pack here, because it's an easy 12-volt power supply for this kind of thing. I'm going to use some wire leads that I have just to make this thing easy, so we don't have to have the jumper pack in our face here as we're doing stuff. So I'm going to hook up the reds and the blacks, turn on the jumper pack, and then I think we're going to be good to go here. And we should have 12 volts at these leads here in order to play with. So let's just test that out with these wires. Like I said, I'm fairly certain that these are lights. So let's see what they do. I'm gonna hook the hot here, touch that there. There you go. That's one of the lights, obviously. All right, so it stands, and the bulbs work. So it stands to reason that this would be the other one. Wow, that's a bonus too, that the bulbs actually work. Huh. All right, good deal. Now, this is a little trickier here. 3 wires coming out. I thought perhaps that these, there's a red, a blue, and a white one. There's probably a wiring diagram online, but I thought perhaps that, you know, one of these was ground, one of them would cause it to open, one of them would cause it to close, but that doesn't seem to entirely be the case. So I'm going with the white one being the ground, and then we're going to touch the red to want it. See, that doesn't do a thing. Oh, now that one, oh, I hope it didn't burn something. Yeah, so that one closed it. Okay, so I'd figure this one would open it, but it doesn't. So maybe these are backwards. Maybe I'm back feeding. Maybe we got blue and red go together. Yeah. Okay, that doesn't work either. I think this is a, oops, I think this is a, which one of these work? This one? Yeah. So I think the way this works is one closes it, it takes both of them to open it. Yeah. All right. Look at that. So both of them connected opens it. When you take the blue one off, it closes. So we're gonna have to rig up something to do that with. Pretty cool, nice. It actually all works the way it should. So we just got to figure up some wiring on how to do this. And I already went a little bit online looking for, you know, what it would take to hook a school bus stop sign off up like this that would work as far as flashers go. And they do sell a flasher unit, as you can see here in the corner. They sell something for that for school buses, but man, that sucker's expensive. It's like 120 bucks or something like that. That's a little bit out of my price range. So we're going to see what we can do with this thing, just utilizing a couple of relays, a couple of typical automotive relays like you'd find, you know, in any auto supply store. Probably going to use the 5 contact relays. Might not need all 5 for each, you know, for the circuit there, but we're going to see what we can do with this. We'll figure it out, and we'll drop a wiring diagram of how it should all work. Hopefully we can get all this stuff working the way we want it to. Is this a little tricky? I mean, on the one hand, you've got to have just the red one connected to close it, but you can't just turn on a switch to connect the blue. You could do that, and that would open it, but then when you close the switch, this would close, but I'd have to have constant power to this red one all the time. I want to be able to turn it off, so I don't know if I like that idea. Yeah, so we'll rig something up with a relay. I'm sure we'll figure out what to do with this. So let's start with this motor circuit. Let's worry about the lights later, because that's going to be a whole other story, a flashing circuit. So what we're going to do is figure out how we can get a light to work here, excuse me, a relay to work here to open this and close it. So let me go grab a relay and we'll walk through this. I have some on-off-on switches here that I purchased off of Amazon, and as you can see, it's just got an off position in the middle, on, off, on. So what I'm hoping to do with this is I'm hoping that we can leave it off with no juice going to anything. If we hit number 1, the flashers will start, this will open up and keep flashing. I can turn it off and it'll just sit there dead, but then I can flip it to 2. The flashing won't continue, but it'll close. So that's the idea here. We got to figure out how to get all this to work. Yeah. Anyway, that's the plan. And I think we can do this pretty easily. We're going to mock up some circuits here, see if we can get this thing working. Okay, I think I've figured out this wiring diagram, and we're going to see if this works for us. Before we mock it up, I'll just explain it a little bit. So this is our relay here in the middle, and we've got all the contacts, 30, 85, 86, 87, and 87A. So this starts off, if you can see this well enough, with power coming in through the switch. We have a switch up here, and since it's a normally, you know, off 1, on 1, or 2 on, and off in the middle, it's basically set up like this. We got 12 volts coming in on the top. We've got our ground and this bar down at the bottom. So coming in, you're basically going to have this kind of setup here. You're going to have this coming up here, the black one hits the top. We got red hanging out this side and yellow hanging out this side. Sorry to you electrical engineers if I don't have the right symbols and everything, but this is the way it helps me understand it. So basically you toggle this switch, we're going to either connect over to the red one, we're either going to connect to the yellow. So hot's going to come in down this black wire, and it's going to be distributed out one of these depending on which side you click it on. So that being said, so initially we are going to connect the red wire, which you know, is good for closing it, right? But to open it, which is yellow, so when you toggle this to 1, these two come on. I know it looks opposite, but when you flip this thing to the 1 position, it connects these two. When you switch it to the 2 position, it connects these two. So when we flip on the yellow, that's when it's going to connect both. So let's start with the just resting scenario, like the sign is right now. That's just red only and a white ground, right? So we had these two here. The white is the ground and the red is just at rest, like it is right now. So in doing this, if you flip the switch over to the red side, for position 2 it would be, then what's going to happen is you're going to send current down here. You're going to hop this black wire. You're going to send current over here to the motor, basically. And the motor is going to get juice from this red wire, and then since the motor is grounded with the white one, it's going to close and stay closed, or or start to close, and since it's already closed in what we saw earlier, that's a circuit that's going to happen. Now if we want to open it, we're going to flip this over to the yellow side, and on the yellow side over here, it's going to connect here, and we're going to give power to the relay. That's what 30 is. It's the blue wire here. We're going to give power to the relay through the blue wire, and we got the 85 is this black one. It's grounded right here going down to the ground bar. So we've got juice, we've got ground here. Now our trigger wire here is on this side. I'm holding it backwards, but trust me, this is the trigger wire, which is white. When we flip this switch on, we're going to power the blue to turn on and give power to the relay, and we're also going to go ahead and turn hot this trigger wire. Normally this 87 here is normally open. It's not connected to anything. I wanted to use it because as the circuit to power things, because it's normally open. When this switch is thrown and there's no power to this relay, this is open, so I'm not going to get any backfeed. If I go to the red side, it's not going to come up here and do anything, because this 87 is open. It's an open circuit. It won't let electrons travel. So I wanted to use 87 here as the trigger, and so in order to do that, I need to use the trigger wire here. Okay, so see, now normally 87A would be on all the time, and if you put the trigger wire, this one would go off. We're not going to use 87A. We're just going to use 87. So anyway, I need to turn on the trigger wire, and I need to power the relay, and if I do both of those things, then this yellow one is going to come hot down here. So we flip the switch to yellow. This one comes on and feeds the red, right? At the same time, when we flip the switch up here, we immediately sent juice over to the blue. And so red and blue will both be together along with the white, which will cause it to open. When we kill power and flip it over to the red side, it'll only supply power to the red and it'll close. So that should be the circuit we need. So I'm going to wire this up, just mock it up here, and we'll see how it works. And I'll bring you right back after I get the wiring done. Okay, I think I got it wired up. Mock. This is only temporary, according to this diagram. So we're gonna try it. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Okay, so the closed circuit works. The other side does not. Okay, that's interesting. Well, let's do some testing. My test meter here. See what we got. I don't know. I probably just hooked something up wrong here. See if we got voltage across certain places. So I hooked this to here. I should have some voltage here. 12 volts. Okay, so I'm pumping voltage in there. That's good. That wire has voltage. This one doesn't. The red does not. So this was normally open. This one is supposed to be hot right now. The relay is supposed to kick on. I've got voltage here. So the relay is... Is anything burning? 12, 13 volts there. 12 volts there. Nothing here. I would think that maybe we're... Yeah, that might have something to do with it. That wasn't crimped in there good. Okay, let me fix that and I'll bring you back and we'll try again. Alright, that's better. Man, I should have disconnected this power. Alright, let's see what happens now. Ah! Okay. Hey, it's alive! Okay, it came up. So now when I turn it off, there it goes. Bingo. Nice. Awesome. And then turn it off. All right, so that circuit is fantastic. That circuit is fantastic. We've got it all working. So half the battle's over. Now we just got to figure out how to make those lights flash. Now I got an idea on how to do that as well. And we're going to use a let me get it for you here. We're going to use a flasher. This would be like the flasher you would use on your turn signals on a car, but I don't believe this one's going to work. I got two of them. I also bought this flasher. So the difference between these is one of them is very low amps used for LED bulbs, because the way these work, they get their current out of the thing they're supplying. If something uses a lot of amps, like a incandescent set of bulbs, then it stores a lot of juice in here and causes it to work. But you know, if you're running something like a relay and it's like less than an amp, this thing isn't even going to work because there's not enough juice going through it. There's a couple of ways we could do this, but I decided that I was just going to try to use a low amp LED type flasher and see if that works for us. So let's talk about the circuit for that. I think what we want to do here is when we trigger this thing to come on. So right now, you might remember that, you know, we triggered this thing. Everything comes on and raises up based on this yellow side of the switch. So when you flip that on, we're sending electricity down this blue wire to here to make it open. What we need to do is, on that kind of a circuit, we need to branch power off over here to start the flashing. So we'll have to come up with a diagram over here for the flashers, but it's going to have to be fed by this wire right here, because that's going to be, we're open, we should be flashing here. Okay, so we're going to send the juice over here for that circuit there. But how are we going to get it to flash? So the idea I had is to use another relay, because, you know, as I said, these relays, the way they work is the 87 and 87A, which is these two contact points, one of them is normally on, the other one's off. You supply the trigger wire, then they switch. You know, where this one was on, this one's off. Now this one's on and this one's off. So you've got an alternating effect going on there. Basically, by taking juice on and off the trigger wire, we can flip these back and forth and thus cause the lights to alternate flashing. At least that's the idea. But that trigger wire, which is the 86 here, that trigger wire, again, across here between ground and the trigger, less than an amp. That's why this thing's not going to work. I'm pretty positive this isn't going to work. So I think we're going to go with this one because it should do the trick for us. So now the idea is when that comes over here, we're going to have to feed the flasher with this wire here, and the flasher is actually, it's going to go into one contact point on the flasher and out the other, and then that's going to go to our trigger wire, and then we'll just cable up all the other wires in that relay as well. But the idea is, as the relay, the flasher flashes and flips these two contacts back and forth, these will be hooked to the lights on the stop sign, and then this will be our power, and this power will also be fed by this wire here. It's coming over. We'll feed power with it, and it'll have power all the time, because these things, you know, won't work unless they've got power. 87 and 80, or excuse me, 87A. So you got to have some juice to this all the time. So we're going to feed it constant power. Only the trigger, okay, only the trigger wire, which is this 86, is going to be going through the flasher, all right? And then, of course, these two here, we'll turn it like this because that's the way it's going to be drawn. These two here will just go to your lights, and it should work. So let me mock up the diagram over here for that, and then we'll wire it up, and we'll see if we can, if it makes sense and if we can get it to work. All right. Okay, here it is. We're going to give it a shot. Here's your hot wire coming over from switching the yellow, like I said. It's feeding this relay with blue. It's going into the flasher. The flasher's coming out to the trigger area here, trigger contact, which is 86. What should happen is this thing should turn off and on, off and on, off and on. This trigger is going to cause these two here, 87 and 87A, to oscillate back and forth. And we've got each one of those tied to one of these bulbs. And so they should oscillate. So we just got to mock the wiring up on this. It's going to start looking ugly. You're not going to see very well here on the table. It's just a mess. We'll pretty it all up. I've got a project box to mount all this in, and we'll pretty it up and mount it to the wall. I've also got a 12-volt power brick for it. So we'll try this. Let's see if we can mock it up and get it working. Okay, this is starting to look totally sketch. So here's my second relay. Got to be careful. I just twisted a couple of these together. So here's my 87, 87A. They're going to the two lights, one each, right? This is the red one here and the yellow one over here. If you can see all that, I don't know. So these are the ones going to each light. Then these are just the grounds for the light going back to the black side of this. So there's one thing missing here I can see, and that is I don't have any way to connect to ground. That's got to be connected back to the ground side of the battery. So I'm going to have to branch something from here over to this ground circuit. Let me see what I can find. Okay, so I got an old lead for this. I don't know where this thing came from. This old wire with clamps on it with tape on it. It'll probably burn the place down. But anyway, this is supplying the ground from the negative battery terminal over here, and it should also be hooked to this guy here, which we've lost that contact, I can see. Sketch. So this should be the negative, and I've branched that over here to the negative on the other relay. So now that should be set up. I've also set up a lead. This green lead here is the wire going from the yellow. Remember, we switched on the yellow, and so this is causing it to open. And then so while we're switched on, I'm going to turn that power over here to this flasher. This goes in the flasher and flashes this trigger wire here, which should alternate these two. And of course, these are hooked to one light or the other. And then of course our grounds for the other ones are right here for the other side of the lights. These are just twisted. So I haven't tested this yet. This will either work, or at best one light will come on. Okay, it looks feasible. Let's see what happens. All right, here goes nothing. Bingo. Now when this is on the wall, it won't quite go that far. It'll just come out to there. The gravity's pulling it. Nice. It is working. All right, and if we close, you can turn it off, and then you switch it to position 2. Bingo. And off. All right. Fantastic. Our diagram completely worked. So I think we're in good shape. Now I just got to turn this mess into something that looks a lot better than this, which that shouldn't be too hard. So I've purchased a project box here, and it's got a contact bar in it, and so, or a bus bar I should say, and I just lost all the screws. That's nice. And so when we hook this up, we'll stick this in here, and we'll be able to hook things together a little easier without all these spade connectors. And we'll just come out, I'll put a hole in one of the sides here, and we'll mount the switch as well as the connection for the power brick. And then we'll have all these wires. Now, I'm not sure what to do about this. All these wires coming out of this are they're coming out of the back of the unit, because, you know, it was on a school bus and it went through the wall of the bus. So not sure what to do about that. It might be possible that I could take this cover off and put some of the electrics inside of this thing, if there's room in this cavity, and not even have a lot of these wires sticking out. I don't know, we'll have to venture inside and see what we've got there. But anyway, so far so good. So next we'll come back and I'll see if we can start working on how to get this box all hooked up. All right, I know what you guys are thinking. Does the other flasher work? What about the other flasher? Does it work? I don't know, let's find out. I'm honestly not sure. One light. Yeah, it's not oscillating. So no, the other flasher does not work. Like I said, too much to it. So back to the low amp flasher. All right, we're gonna see what's inside this thing, because maybe there's room in here. Yeah. Same deal. Okay, let's see what we got in here. Hopefully this just comes off. Wow, look at all that space in there. There we go. Wow, yeah, there's lots of room in there. I'm not sure that I'm gonna need the project box. We could probably just mount everything inside of here. However, powering it off and on, you're gonna have to reach down under the stop sign to get it to any switches or anything. If you guess, I could put it on this side, the switch.
One eternity later.
Okay, here it is. So I finished it up, but it's not pretty. It could probably be zip tied up a little bit better, and I may go ahead and put some in there. But as you can see, I used one of these blocks that came out of that kit. I've mounted the relays on the side with some bolts, and then this is just stuck with double-sided tape. This is the flasher. We've gone through the wall here with our power cables, and then also all the switch cables, and you can see those go back in here to the back side of the sign catcher. And back here we've just got a plug here where we plug in the voltage and then the switch. I bought one of these power bricks that puts out, you know, that's 12 volts DC, and this one puts out 5 amps, which is more than enough, and that'll work perfectly. I'm gonna plug that in up above the sign where we got an outlet up there for something else, so it's perfect. So I'm going to stick this all back together. Now, one thing I am going to do is I made a quick copy of this schematic that we made. I'm going to fold that in half, and I'm going to tape that or glue it to the top here, so that if I ever have to get into this again, I know how it's wired. Also, one thing I didn't have in the schematic that you really should have, and I knew about this and I kept putting off talking about it, but that is an inline fuse. So the power coming in here should be fused, and so I put a little fuse here. I think I made it 7.5 amps, which is probably too much, but I didn't have any fuses, so probably a 5 amp would have been plenty. So anyway, a fuse block needs to go in there, and that's going to be wired somewhere up here between your 12 volts DC and where it goes into the switch. You're going to break it right in there and put a fuse so it's fused, or put the fuse somewhere out here in the 12 volt feed. All right, okay, I'm going to put this all together, and then we are going to stick it on the wall. and see how it goes. Now I'll bring you back when I've got it all buttoned up. Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is mounted and it's done, and it doesn't look too bad. Now the cord, I got lucky on the cord because I got this duct board hanging on, insulating my shop all over the place. I got a natural seam here and there, and I got just stuffed the cord in there. You can't see it at all. So let's try it out. I'm gonna set you up over here so you can see it. Ready for stoppage. And back down again. And they can turn it off. All right, we're gonna look at it from this side. We got a power cable coming in, as you know, and also the switch is on the bottom. And of course, we got all the goodies in there. And flip the switch. I think I need to clean the sign off a little bit. Works like a charm. Close it. And off. Hope you guys like this little project. It was a little bit different than normal, but I thought it'd be fun, and I think it was. A little bit challenged to figure out the wiring. Not real complicated at all, though. But it was fun nonetheless. If you like this kind of thing, you might put it in the comments below, and maybe we'll bring something again here in the near future. But until that time, please like and subscribe, and we thank you for watching. Take care.